Hello everyone, thank you for stopping by Lavender and Lace today. I'm Alicia and I have some absolutely gorgeous high-end fall DIYs to share with you all today in the video, and I hope you get some fall decor inspiration from these projects. If you like farmhouse decor, rustic DIYs, quick and easy crafts, I hope you consider subscribing if you haven't already. Please give this video a thumbs up, and without further ado, let's get started with today's projects. So full disclosure here, I did splurge a little bit on the florals for this first project. I did pick up a few of those pumpkin picks from the Dollar Tree because I think they look really high end and I like using those for my projects. And I also picked out two of the larger floral arrangements from Hobby Lobby. These were pretty pricey, but they were 40% off, so I thought that was a pretty good deal. You could totally do this with all Dollar Tree florals if you want to go that route. And they also had some smaller floral picks at Hobby Lobby as well. But I just thought I was getting a better deal going with those larger arrangements because I was able to get several picks from each of those. And I just started by removing the tags and cutting apart those pumpkin picks from the Dollar Tree. And this larger one with all of the leaf picks, I was just able to unwrap that paper that they had wound around this, and I got several different picks from that bundle. I can't remember exactly how many there were, maybe 12 to 15 of those. And then I just removed the tag from this grapevine wreath, and I picked this up at Hobby Lobby as well. It was only $6 for the 18-inch wreath. You can also find these at Walmart, but it was a better deal at Hobby Lobby. And they had just fastened that price tag on there with a little metal ring, and I was not able to get that off, so I just left that on there and turned that to the back side of the wreath. And for this, I just started by putting in those picks in different areas. I don't think I'm very good with florals, so this one I just really didn't know where to start. So I started with the pumpkin picks from the Dollar Tree and just putting those in different areas. And then I decided that it would probably be better to do the leaves first. I did stick a few of those in there to see how that would look. And I decided pretty quickly that it would be better to put my leaves down in the background and have that really full, and then just add all of my other picks that I had cut apart. So I just started removing everything that I had put on my wreath, and this is exactly why I didn't start hot gluing in the beginning. I knew I wanted to do kind of a dry fit and just play around with all of these different florals and these different picks to see what I liked the best. So I just started all over again and just went in with those leaf picks from that one large arrangement. And these were very easy to kind of bend and shape to go along with the wreath form. And I didn't trim off any of the stems from these. These are very easy to just stick through all of those pieces of grapevine, and you can actually weave those in on the back side of your wreath, and you don't have to do any additional trimming to these. So I just went around on one side of my wreath. I did know that I just wanted to do the florals on one side of this wreath form. And I just kept adding those and fluffing them and shaping them to the wreath until I was happy with all of the leaves that I had put in there. And then I just went back in with those pumpkin picks from the Dollar Tree and just added those in some different areas. And if you don't do florals, I would just tell you to just go for it and just try it and just keep adding things, and just pick up your wreath. And I looked at it from all different angles to make sure that everything looked okay and that I was getting all of those areas filled with all of my different floral picks. And that other bunch that I got from the Hobby Lobby, it had like plastic, kind of like straws on those, but you were able to just pull out the actual pick from those. And that was pretty easy, and I just tucked those in here and there. It had a lot of different elements in that arrangement. It had some of those white berries and some sunflowers and a pumpkin. And I just went in and just tucked those in the areas that I thought looked the best. And then I did take some hot glue and just glue my pumpkin and my sunflowers down because they didn't stick into that grapevine very well. And this will be going outside, so I knew that those might fall off of my wreath if I didn't secure those with some hot glue. And I found these faux corn cobs at the Dollar Tree, and I originally thought that I wanted to add these into my wreath, and I kind of just played around with those to see what they look like, and I opted to leave those off. I will just save those for another project. And I found this really nice wooden hanger at the Dollar General store. I think sometimes we get so hyper focused on the Dollar Tree that we forget about Dollar General, and this one was just $1. So I picked that up and I just gave this 3 good coats with my Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster, and I did go over that letter and the design a little bit with another coat of chalk paint, so I did 4 coats on that area. And then I had this Happy Harvest wooden cutout in my stash, and I just painted that with my Waverly chalk paint in the color moss. I thought that would look really well with all of the florals that I have on the wreath, and I just did 1 coat of that on the sign. And I knew this little wooden cutout would not sit flush on my sign, so I just took some of these half beads and glued those down on the back of my sign so I would have something for my hot glue to hold on to as I glued it to my sign. And I have these really pretty rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. I found those last year, and I just kind of measured out the size I would need to go on the background of my wreath hanger. And I just cut that out, and I tried to get it a little bit smaller than the actual frame portion of this because sometimes when you use rub-on transfers, they will adhere to an area that you don't want them to. And then I just peeled off that backing, and I started by using my little Cricut scraper to apply these, and that didn't seem to work very well. So I just switched to using the handle of a paintbrush, and that worked really well. And with these rub-on transfers, you can kind of tell when they are adhering to your project. They will change color just a little bit. The colors will lighten up when they're applying to your background. So that's a tip to remember if you use these transfers. They will change color as you apply them to whatever surface that you are working with. And I just think that my paintbrush handle worked a lot better for this. I was able to just control that a little bit better and get it in the areas that I needed to. Just carefully removed the transfer sheet, and then I also cut out some smaller strips to kind of just piece together on my design so I wouldn't have a lot of that blank space on the edges. Just cut that off and fit those together, and just applied them again with the paintbrush handle. And then I just took some hot glue and glued down my Happy Harvest wood cutout to the front of my sign. And I had just this piece of wire that I removed from a wooden pick that I have in my stash, and I was just able to run that through just a small section of the grapevine and just twisted that on the back to secure my hanger to my wreath. And this color was perfect to go with this grapevine wreath. It just blended in very well. And I just tucked in those wires on the back of my wreath. And this is ready to be displayed. And I just love how this one turned out. It's actually better than I expected since I don't do florals a lot. But I think it actually looks like one that you could buy already pre-made in the store. Let me know what you guys think about this one. This next idea is so quick and easy you could have it done in probably 5 minutes, but a very simple way to just elevate these ceramic knit look pumpkins that you can get from the Dollar Tree is just take some of your Waverly chalk paint, and I chose the color plaster. Just put a small amount on the tip of my paintbrush and just went over all of these areas on each of the pumpkins and just did kind of a light dry brushing over that. And it just really makes all of this detail pop off of these pumpkins. And I love the detail on these anyway. They're absolutely gorgeous as is, but I wanted to change this up just a little bit. And you could also use the rub and buff that you could get from Hobby Lobby. I think the gold one would look great with these, but this is just a very simple, quick, and easy way that you can kind of transform these pumpkins. And they look amazing once you get all of these areas done, and they look really great with all of your fall decor. Do you ever have candles that don't want to burn quite right? That's what happened to me with this one. So here is a super easy candle hack for you guys. I just had one of these silicone mats that I had picked up from Hobby Lobby, and this one was the shape of mini pumpkins. And I didn't really know what I was going to do with this when I saw it at the store, but it was 40% off, and I was like, surely I can come up with something to use this for, and this is a really great idea. I just poured some of the wax into these molds from the candle after it had been burning for just a little while, and this one, it just didn't want to burn too well for me. For some reason, it was just almost burning out. The wax was almost going over the wicks. I think those may have just been trimmed a little too short when we started burning this candle. But I just filled up all of the molds that I could with what melted wax that I had, and these pop out so easy out of this silicone mold. I will be looking for a Christmas one of these for sure, so I can do this hack as well for Christmas time. So I just popped out all of my little wax melts. And it's super easy to clean these silicone molds. You can just throw them into the dishwasher and all of that wax removes perfectly. And I just went around my little melts and just kind of carefully broke off any of that extra wax that didn't fit into the mold. And these are perfect to add to any of your wax warmers that you have. And you can choose your favorite scents, and these are perfect and just make your house smell so much like fall. I just love this idea. Just look how cute these are. For this next project, I started with a couple of these wooden leaf cutouts that I got in a pack from Hobby Lobby. I think there were 10 in this pack and they were 40% off, so I paid $1.20 to $1.50 for all of these. And I just painted one of these with my Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin, and then I stained the other one with my Waverly antique wax. And I did go back in on the orange one with some of that antique wax and just went around the edges and along those cutouts in the center. For some reason, I didn't video that for you guys, but you'll be able to see that when this project comes together. And I still have a lot of these napkins that I got from Hobby Lobby as well. And I just thought this leaf pattern would coordinate really well with those leaves that I had chose, the wooden ones. And I just removed all of the plies from that napkin. Be sure that you remove all of them. If it's a 3-ply, you want to definitely make sure you get all of those layers off. It will just make this project a lot easier for you. And then I just cut that down to size and made sure I had enough to cover the background of my sign. And I did pick that wooden sign up from all of the wood pile selection that they have at Hobby Lobby, and it was on sale as well. And I just used my Elmer's glue stick, just put down a thick layer on the background there. And I really love this technique. It just works very well with napkins or tissue paper even. It just helps not to get your napkin or tissue paper too wet and have a lot of rips or wrinkles and tears. And I just put that down and carefully smoothed that out with my fingers, just pressing into the corners and along the edges. And I just repeated those steps for the remainder of my napkin. And then I just went along the edges, kind of just ripping that napkin. I didn't really want a clean finish to that. I wanted it to be kind of rough around the edges. And just used my small heat gun to help dry that glue stick a little bit quicker. And then I just went in with some matte Mod Podge and smoothed that out in a thin layer all across my napkin. And that will just help you get those edges and the corners down really well. And I don't normally like these metal cutouts or the metal words, but I thought this one would look really well with everything that I had picked out so far for this sign. And I just kind of played around with the placement of my metal word and my leaves to see where I wanted to put them. And I used hot glue for this, but if you do metal with any kind of project, you might want to use some E6000 or some of the Gorilla Glue, because when you use hot glue with the metal, it just cools so quickly that it's hard to get it applied to whatever project that you're doing. I may even go back and just carefully pop that off and use some E6000 myself for this one. But for the video, I just used the hot glue and used the hot glue as well for my leaves and just stuck those down in the corners. And this one is finished. I love the way it turns out. It's just so simple, but I think it's very high-end and would look great as a shelf sitter, or you could hang it up as well. What do you guys think about this one? I found these larger cutting boards in the plus section at my Dollar Tree, and I thought these would be perfect to DIY with, so I grabbed a couple of them. And I wanted this one to be a double-sided cutting board, so I just left that design as is on the front. Just used my small heat gun to remove the stickers and the glue from the hanger, and I set that aside because I will be using that again when I finish my cutting board. And I wanted a good clean edge around the sides of this cutting board since it is going to be double-sided. I didn't want any of that paint showing when I had the one design out front. And I just used some washi tape to get me some clean edges, and then I just took some smaller pieces and did a couple of different areas so I could paint some stripes, and I just used my Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin to do that, and it did take 2 coats to get complete coverage. And then once that paint was dry, I just peeled up that washi tape and just reused it and put that down on the top and the bottom edges of my orange stripes. And then I went in with some of my Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster, and I did 2 coats of this as well. And once that paint was dry, I just peeled back my washi tape, and I think these stripes turned out really well. I would definitely do this again on these cutting boards. I think that it just looks really high-end on these. and some of the paint did peel up in just one of the areas on the edges. So I just went in with my sanding block and did some extra distressing around the edges to kind of blend that in, and that also helped to clean up any of the paint that may have seeped under my washi tape. And then I just took a clean dry cloth and removed all of that dust from the chalk paint. And then I just measured my cutting board so I would know the correct size to print my design. And before I do that, I just covered this with some Mod Podge. I just put down a light coat and just spread that evenly over the entire surface of my cutting board. So to get my artwork onto my cutting board, I thought printing on tissue paper would be a good way to do that. And to start with, I just cut out a piece of the tissue paper, just cut that down to size so it would fit onto a piece of regular computer paper. And my design is going to be a little bit larger for this cutting board, so I used a piece of the legal size printer paper, the 8.5 by 14. And make sure that you print on the matte side, not the shiny side, if you do any of these tissue paper techniques. Just tape down all of your edges really well around that computer paper so you don't have anything that's loose that might get hung up in your printer. And I found this really cute design on Etsy, and I will leave the link to this in the description box if you would like to use it. So I just went into Canva and went to their print products and chose their flyer option. And I just resized that to be the legal size that I was using. And I had already uploaded my design to Canva, so it was just easy to add that to my flyer, and I just resized that to fit and downloaded that to my computer and just printed that out. And when I do these tissue paper projects like this, I like to let my design dry for at least 30 minutes longer if I have the time. And then you will just remove your washi tape or whatever you used to apply your tissue paper to your printer paper. And I trimmed off a little bit more of the edges than what I really needed to. I should have actually just left the edges complete and not trim those. You'll see why when I finish this project. It may not bother you, but with my OCD it kind of does so. But anyway, I just trimmed around the design and I got that ready to go on to the cutting board. And the Mod Podge that I had applied to this was completely dry. It had dried for several hours. I just centered my design and I protected that tissue paper with just one of these Teflon sheets, and I like to keep these on hand for these projects. And I just used my Cricut mini press to reactivate that Mod Podge and apply that design to the cutting board. And you can see here around the edges, some of that orange paint is a little bit brighter on those edges than the other areas of the design, so that may drive me crazy. I don't know if I'll be able to just leave it like that. I may go back in and just put some extra tissue paper on that, or I may decide to leave it as is. And I just covered that with another layer of Mod Podge to seal it, and then just use some hot glue to reattach my jute twine hanger. And this one is ready to go up and be displayed. And now I have a really cute double-sided cutting board, and I just love how this one turns out. Let me know what you guys think about this project. For this last project, I just started by grabbing some wooden beads and pearl beads that I had got from the Dollar Tree. And this orange pumpkin came in a pack of 7 from Walmart. And I got that complete pack for just a little over $7. So these pumpkins were pretty inexpensive, and I just wanted to try to recreate a beaded pumpkin. So I just started by figuring out the pattern that I wanted to do with these beads, and I just hot glued those down. And for this particular pattern, I did that in one row, skipped a row, and then went to the next one. And then I went back into those rows that I had skipped and just alternated that pattern. So for one pattern, I had the wood bead, 3 pearls, and the wood bead. And then I did 3 pearls, wood bead, 3 pearls. And then it was just easier for me to go around all of the outer edges first, and then I went back in and completed the top portion. And this is what it looks like when I have all of the beads and the pearls hot glued on. And I also wanted to show you guys another option for these beaded pumpkins. I found these jeweled borders at the Dollar Tree, and I thought these were super easy to work with. You just peel them off of that backing and they have a sticky adhesive, and it was just really easy to apply those to the segments of this pumpkin. And this cream colored one I got from the plus section at the Dollar Tree, and it just had kind of a weird yellowish color in those ridges, so I knew I wanted to redo this one. And I just went around each of those segments and put that jewel border on, and it was just super easy to apply that. And for the orange one, I took it out and spray painted it with this Rust-Oleum in the color Rustic Orange, and I spray painted the other one in the color Almond. And these are the 2x paint plus primer spray paint. I really like using these. You only have to do one coat to get very good coverage. And while those were drying, I just repainted these stems with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle. I just didn't like the finish that these had. And once my pumpkins were dry, I just brought those back in and just reattached my stems with some hot glue. And then I wanted to do just a little bit of distressing on these pumpkins to make that detail kind of pop and stand out. And for the almond colored one, I just went in with some of that Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle and just did some light dry brushing along all of those jewel bordered areas. And I think this one actually looks like a leather pumpkin now. I really like the way that this one turns out. And for the orange one, I just took some of my Waverly chalk paint in the color Snow White, went over all of the beaded areas, and I also went back in on each of the segments as well and just did a little bit of dry brushing. And these are complete and ready to go with my other fall decor. I love how these turned out. The orange one looks kind of like a wooden pumpkin now, I think. Let me know what you guys think about these pumpkins and if you would try this project. Thank you all so much for watching the video today. I hope you enjoyed these projects and they give you some fall DIY inspiration. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click that notification bell so you don't miss any new content that I will have coming out soon. And leave me a comment and let me know which of these projects was your favorite and which one that you might be trying yourself. And I would also love to connect with you on Facebook. I have left a link in the description box, and I would love to see some of you there. And please share this video if you know someone else that might enjoy it, and I will see you in the next one.